Optimized fat metabolism will help you clean up and reset your metabolic health and get you operating as nature intended, and then build that metabolic capacity to reach your potential. We've dedicated the past 22 years to developing a system through working with athletes of all ages and abilities across the spectrum of sports. And it doesn't just apply to athletes, but anybody who's willing to do the work. In part 2 of my vlog, reviewing the Hammer Nutrition articles of Demystifying Fats, Part 1 and Part 2, which are wonderful articles, my pocus was on saturated fat, and I wanted to debunk this bad advice about saturating fat, because this is a stable, clean burning, and energy dense fat, which is actually a good guy painted as the villain. Make sure to watch or read it and the articles, because it could and should alter your thinking, health trajectory for the better. In today's vlog, and part of my review of Demystifying Fats Parts 1 and Parts 2, I want to augment the article with critical information and context so you possess the knowledge you need to navigate your health journey as well as the grocery store aisles. Let's dive in. We've now arrived at what I call the land of the Mufas and the Pufas. What's that you say? Mufas and Pufas? Is this some sort of strange pairing of stateside and down under male acronym code for vulgarities one dare not utter in this PC and woke world? Nope. Mufas and Pufas are both acronyms and scientific terminology for monounsaturated fatty acids and polyunsaturated fatty acids, respectively. Yep, both are a mouthful of syllables nobody wants to repeat nor write more than once. Hence, we have Mufas and Pufas. This is your first tidbit of added knowledge that I'm sharing with you today, because as much as this sounds like trivia and a fun factoid, the terms Mufas and Pufas need to be understood and recognized as synonymous for mono and polyunsaturated fats and oils. This by you, the layperson, that's seeking to navigate this particularly slippery slope of misinformation. And this is also why I and my OFM team are here to guide you. As the article indicates, Mufas are known for their health benefits, with olive oil being the best known, but with other recommended sources rich in Mufas being like avocado, nuts, dairy, and animal fats. I want to add sunflower seed oil to the list. And these Mufas don't require heavy processing to extract the oil, thus they're considered not only as safe, but healthy. But in all things, there's a catch. While not nearly as fragile and prone to oxidation as Pufas are, certain Mufas are actually prone to oxidation and go rancid easily. And this is why olive oil rarely comes in a clear bottle. Instead, it comes in a green or brown bottle, or even a can for lower quality olive oils. That's to keep the sunlight out, to keep it from going bad. And sunflower oil is even more prone to oxidation and rancidity. Now, what's the reason for this? Well, the reason is plant-based Mufa sources tend to be a blend high in Pufas, while animal-based sources of Mufas tend to be a blend high in those stable, saturated fats, the good guy. So my real-world tips are: 1, start by taste testing a virgin olive oil from Europe with one from California or Australia. And when you do this, you can literally taste the difference, which will give you an experiential aha moment where all of this makes perfect sense. You'll understand the why as the how. Almost all of the olive oil coming out of Europe to the US has some level of oxidation, hence rancidity. And this is because olives have been a crop in the Mediterranean for thousands of years. So much of the crop is still hand harvested on marginal hilly land and takes hours, if not a couple of days, to be pressed. Whereas in California and Australia, where the cost of labor is really high and you got to be efficient, and olives are a relatively new crop, these olives are harvested mechanically and they're pressed within a few hours of harvest. And you know, we don't get the good olive oil from Europe. Secondly, do the same with sunflower seed oil. Get a really high quality, freshly pressed sunflower seed oil and compare the taste with an older press and or lower quality, and trust your taste buds. They know, and that's why I say we want you to trust your intuition and your own internal knowledge. Third, avoid Mufas that are heavily marketed as heart healthy, like corn oil, vegetable oil, and canola oil, which is really a rebranding ploy by the Canadian Oil Association due to these marketing hurdles associated with calling canola oil what it really is, rapeseed oil. Okay, all of these oils are, as stated, highly processed and contain a significant amount of PUFAs, which are not only unstable, but the type of PUFAs you don't need. Animal-based sources of Mufas are in a blend of fats higher in saturated fats, as I said earlier, and they tend to resist oxidation and rancidity. So pass the cheese, butter, bacon fat, and lard, please. Even the duck fat. PUFAs have been elevated to this hero status as heart healthy. But are they really? The unfortunate reality is it's a mixed bag. And the majority of these heart healthy food items in your grocery stores are actually the opposite. They are the very foods that, when consumed daily and chronically and in large amounts, lead to a variety of health challenges, which can include heart disease due to their inflammatory nature. And this is the point. Heart healthy PUFA vegetable oils are as healthy for you as a box of heart healthy sugary cereals. Need I say more? This topic is infinitely complex, contextual, and nuanced, which is why OFM does the deeper dive so you don't have to. So before we go deeper, I need to make myself clear. I'm not slamming or denigrating PUFAs because they do have an important role in your health. But as you can see, this is literally a minefield to navigate, and precisely why I'm here to guide you and why I'm doing this video, and a big reason why we developed the OFM program. PUFAs are much more chemically unstable and biochemically reactive relative to Mufas and naturally occurring saturated fats. This biochemical reactivity has both an upside and a downside. The upside being PUFAs are critical players in composing and maintaining that lipid bilayer that Dr. French talks about, the one that makes up the cell wall and the cell wall integrity, as well as almost an infinite set of biochemical reactions within that lipid bilayer important to maintain life. The downside, however, is too many of the wrong types of PUFAs in your diet means an excess of fragile, easily oxidized lipids that are just hanging out to get oxidized, or worse, glycated to a glucose molecule to create a reactive oxygen species, or ROS, commonly known as free radicals to the consumer. And subsequently, they get oxidized, creating a cascade of inflammation and toxins, resulting in the endothelial damage that I talked about in my previous post. The damage cholesterol and saturated fat get blamed for. And this is a big why for optimizing your fat metabolism. When your body is prioritized and optimized to burn fat for fuel, you metabolically eliminate the excess PUFAs and glucose hanging out with no purpose in life and getting together to wreak havoc. It's kind of like why it's important for teenage boys, aka those pimply PUFAs, and girls, aka that sugar and spice, to be in sports, band, theater, and all kinds of engaging activities to keep them from just hanging out with nothing to do, which almost always results in them doing it, and the ensuing drama that inevitably follows. This is sort of how it works with PUFAs and glucose, which is one reason why OFM makes physical activity an essential part of the program. Physical activity is kind of like making sure there are lots of after-school activities for kids so both don't just hang out and get into trouble. And this is the biggest reason why, forget the antioxidants, let's reduce the oils, and then we don't have a lot of free radicals. Dr. French's article does a great job of listing and describing the type of PUFAs in their many forms, so I will add just a bit of information and some context for real-world application, as it's impossible to go down every rabbit hole when it comes to PUFAs. So hang with me, and you'll be glad you did. First, I'd like to go back to my Goldilocks analogy of just right. So those heart-healthy vegetable oils, and we'll add trans fats and hydrogenated vegetable oils like Crisco. These are all non-naturally occurring. They're highly processed. So these are the PUFAs you want to avoid. But other PUFAs listed, they do play a role in your health and performance. And it's not too little, not too much, just right. But that just right is a constantly moving target based upon you as an individual, not as a commodity. So there's no formula to it. Second, due to the chemically reactive and fragile nature of PUFAs, it is better to err on the side of less is more. For one thing, if you're consuming a whole foods diet composed of a mix of animal and plant-based fresh food sources, you'll be getting plenty of various PUFAs. So through simple awareness, you can optimize your PUFA intake through conscious dietary choices or supplementing a little bit with those essential omega-3 PUFAs of DHA and EPA. The omega-6s you'll be getting plenty of, okay? Now, with respect to these essential omega-3s, and that is DHA and EPA, not ALA, the current science to date strongly suggests the conversion of ALA, or alpha-linoleic acid, to EPA and subsequently to DHA, it's low, too low, especially when the dietary intake is high in monounsaturated and polyunsaturated oils. So a combined strategy of minimizing foods and oils that are high in LA and ALA, especially things like deep fried foods, processed foods, commercial dressings, and commercial mayo, and then filling that void you've created with consumption of food sources which contain healthy PUFAs and your essential omega-3s like salmon, pasture-raised beef, lamb, mutton, goat, or wild ruminant game like venison, elk, or moose, and your vegetables, etc., you're going to be fine. And if you need to supplement, you can use a fish or krill oil or a capsule, but never use that fermented cod liver oil. That's another marketing scam we're not going to go down today. And if you're plant-based, then use the algae-based essential omega-3s to get your EPA and DHA omega-3s. Now, because of the world we live in, elimination of useless or bad PUFAs like trans fats, vegetable oils, soybean oil, and seed oils, etc., it's virtually impossible. It's not realistic. So the goal should be to minimize their consumption as much as realistically and easily possible. And this is because the physiological and metabolic impacts of chronic stress, hyper-awareness, and basically the fear of everything you're putting in your mouth have as much, if not more, of a negative impact on your well-being than getting too much PUFAs and oxidized Mufas and carbs. So just chill out and you're going to do fine. Now let's talk about what you haven't been told and was not in those articles. Both Mufas and PUFAs are important to higher health and peak performance. However, they are useless and can even be toxic without the metabolic machinery and metabolic capacity to harness their health benefits. As importantly, Having the capacity to metabolize fat is critical to dealing with those less than ideal Mufas and PUFAs that are ubiquitous and unavoidable in the modern diet. There is no doubt that the good fats will drastically improve your metabolic health and performance. However, due to your current or previous diet or activity levels, etc., or stress, etc., your body might not be able to metabolize fats properly. And this has occurred due to the modern diet and well-intended but bad advice around fats. And that's why we're talking about them in depth, okay? We can talk about and consume good fats all day long. And we can do this all day long till the cows and the olives and the avocados come home. But without the metabolism and physiology optimized to harness all that goodness, you are shortchanging yourself. But don't worry, this is totally fixable. And this is why we focus on your metabolism and physiology rather than a diet or exercise or lifestyle or some miracle supplement. Okay? These are all tools. We use diet, appropriate supplementation, stress management, and physical activity as tools to optimize your fat metabolism. This is the energy source nature meant us to use and harness for aerobic metabolism. I keep driving that home. I want you to get that. Fat is what your body's meant to burn for aerobic metabolism, not glucose. Our focus has been precisionally honed on optimizing fat metabolism. And through this focus, we've dedicated the past 22 years to developing a system through working with athletes of all ages and abilities across the spectrum of sports. And it doesn't just apply to athletes, but anybody who's willing to do the work. Optimized fat metabolism will help you clean up and reset your metabolic health and get you operating as nature intended, and then build that metabolic capacity to reach your potential. And the first stage of this is the metabolic reset. It's not a diet, but a 28-day journey to transform your metabolic health and create a foundation, a solid foundation, to hit your health and performance goals. Click here for more information.